This is a typed video about making unbiased surveys. So let's talk about the two different types of questions when we're talking about making unbiased surveys. The first type is an open question. An open question is where any answer is possible. So when you have, that's just an open question. You just put the question down, they answer whatever they want. You want to make sure, first of all, to be concise. So, for example, if you ask, what is your favorite NHL team to watch? That's good. If you just say, what's your favorite team? It's not clear if you mean high school team, hockey team, what sport, what context, and are you watching the team or is it you're playing the sport? So be concise. Also be clear. So, for example, if you have a job currently, estimate how much money you earn in an average week. You want to be very clear about what you're asking. You also want to avoid raising strong emotions. So, for example, nuclear fallout can last for decades or even centuries. How much do you support nuclear power programs? First of all, you raise strong emotions and you kind of led the question a bit, which is the next one. So that's really biased. Try instead to ask it in an unbiased way without creating emotional language or emotional scenes or imagery. And finally, avoid leading to a particular answer. For example, our military heroes deserve, bolded, more respect. Wouldn't you agree? That's biased. You're leading the person, suggesting what the answer already is. A better way to ask the same question would be something like, do you feel that our military forces are well respected? So those are 4 good ideas for open questions. For closed questions, that's where the participant's choosing from a list of answers. You want to have a minimum of approximately 7 options, generally speaking 7 or more. So if you ask what's the best food, ice cream or pizza, it's weird that you only picked those 2. Why ice cream and pizza? One frozen dessert and one specific main meal. It would be better if you had something like of desserts, what's your favorite food, and listed a bunch of common desserts with at least 7. That's kind of your bare minimum. Here clearly I have more. But there's other things. For example, make sure to have all the major choices. A biased question would be like, what's the best subject, English, math, or history? It's better if you say, what's your favorite high school subject, and you're clear, again, you want to be clear, and then you list some of the, if not all of the major choices. You want to try to get them all, the major choices for high school credits. Make sure too, even though you've got the 7 minimum options and you've got the major options, you should always have other with fill in the blank. So for example, do you do your homework every night? It's not just a yes and no question. You might want to also have like every other night. You might want to have sometimes. You try to think up a few answers, but in case you haven't thought of something on the list, you put other with a fill in the blank. Make sure your number ranges don't overlap. If you ask someone their age, for example, if the numbers overlap, they don't know if they're 17 to put their answer as this one or their answer is this one. So for example, if you're asking about what age you earn, you go from 0 to 5 and 5.01 to 10 and so on. Make sure your number ranges don't overlap. But also make sure your number ranges are equal in size. So for example, it would be biased if you say how many times do you check for texts on your phone, and this one is a size 10 and this one's a size 30 and this one's a size 40. Try to make your number ranges equal in size. Your number ranges have to also cover all possible answers. So make sure you've got as low as 0 credits if you're asking about credits in high school, and as high as 40 credits and even a 40 plus, and make sure you've got every possible answer there. Again, still keeping the number ranges equal in size and not overlapping. Make sure to still be clear as well. For example, here's a biased question about social programs, and you've only asked some particular countries, 3 in North America, 1 in South America, and then 1 in Africa, and then 1 in East Asia, and then Latvia and Europe. So how come 3 in North America and kind of 1 in each other continent, no Australia? So instead, I would make sure to avoid both the leading thing, but this question still, I don't think this is biased. Sorry, I don't think this is unbiased. I think it's still biased because you're still got this terrible list of why those 7 countries. Better to make this an open question, but also avoid being leading or unclear. And be really careful with yes-no questions. They're almost always biased. For example, asking someone, do you wear glasses, on the surface might seem like yes, no, but there's actually a lot of options. You want to have at least more options or really, really specific question if it's going to be yes, no other. Like, do you have a prescription to wear glasses or contacts on a regular basis? Because this glasses thing could have been anything. It's really ambiguous. What if they just wear glasses for sports? What if it's just for reading? What if they only wear them some weeks? It gets really complicated. So unless you're super specific, have a lot of options and be really careful with yes, no questions. And that's the end of that video. We were looking at a whole bunch of things to avoid to make sure you're making unbiased surveys.